Hello and welcome to the Sindragosa encounter guide from learntoplaywoo.com. Notice the new Rise logo. Rise is one of the best horde guilds on Xevious, possibly even the best. It's the guild that I'm raiding with, it's the guys that you see around me. This guild helps me make better guides, so a big thanks goes out to all from Rise for taking me in and letting me record their boss fights. As you can see, Sindragosa is a dragon, and it respects the classical dragon-like features. It cleaves, it does a tail swipe, and it has a breath attack, so DPS from the sides. Also, while on the ground, Sindragosa's Frost Aura will deal damage to everyone in raid. This is a healer-intensive battle, with a lot of constant damage taking place. First phase of the encounter is not that complicated. It all revolves around two fairly similar debuffs, Chilled to the Bone for physical damage and Unchained Magic for casters. For physical DPS, what this means is that each time you attack her, you have a 20% chance of getting Chilled to the Bone debuff, which causes 1k frost damage every 2 seconds for 8 seconds and can stack for quite a lot. What that means is that the more you attack her, the more stacks of this debuff you are going to get, the more damage you will take. Depending on your health, having around 5 to 8 stacks of this debuff should be the limit that you are aiming for. If you are reaching Enrage timer, get more stacks. If you are dying mid-fight, get fewer stacks. Classes with fast attack speed like Rogue and Enhancement Shamans may have a bit of a problem here. If you see yourself getting 8 stacks, stop DPS till the debuff wears off. Rogues can use Cloak of Shadows. For casters is the same thing, except they don't periodically take damage from the debuff. Rather than that, they just pile up instability once they get the Unchained Magic debuff. The more instability stacks they pile up, the harder they will be hit when the stacks fall off. It's 2k damage per stack, so at 7 stacks they will get hit for 14k. They shouldn't aim for more than 7 stacks. So don't try to over DPS, hoping that the healers will keep you alive. Just watch your stacks and don't let them get too high. What happens though is that the boss has another ability, a pull effect on the entire raid that you can also use as a stack reset. 5 seconds after the pull, she will cast a mass AoE spell called Blistering Cold, dealing damage based on how close you are to her. This is when everyone needs to run out. Just turn around after the pull and run out. Tanks can also run out and then charge back in. This is a critical moment in the battle, because healers are forced to run, which means they can't really properly heal, and this is also when the raid has the most amount of debuffs on them. Although they are actually falling off, the debuffs are at their max. Try to use some defensive abilities while running up the stairs. As I said, this also acts as a default reset for your debuff stacks. As you are running and not attacking, the stacks naturally fall off. If you notice people are dying during the running out, even if they are out of the blast area, then some raiders should allow their stacks to fall before the mass AoE. Air phase is similar to Sapphiron. On 25 men, 5 players will have an arrow on their head. They will be marked by DBM. They will get a message saying Frost Beacon on you. That means they are soon to be ice blocked. They need to be topped off, as when hit they will take 15k damage and do splash damage around them. A caster can die from getting Frost Beacon and having his debuff drop at roughly the same time. Positioning is important. We had our ice blocks on the stairs, 2 in front, 3 in the back. The idea is that you want to line of sight the explosion area. You can either watch the projectile going down, or you can look out for the frost area on the floor that indicates where the projectile is about to hit. Having a good clear interface helps. We had the ice blocks at the stairs because the bombs fall in the circle-like encounter area. so you can be safe standing mostly on one side of the ice block and just strafing a bit left or right. You don't want the blocks too high up on the stairs because the wall in the back will push your camera downwards into the ground, making it a bit difficult to spot the bombs. There is little time to position the ice blocks. If you got people dying from two ice blocks being too close to each other, you can assign marks to each individual position on the stairs. You want the ice blocks at the best possible range from each other, 10 yards that means. You can't really bunch them up too close because of splash damage when they get formed. At the same time, you want them fairly close to each other so you are able to AoE DPS them and move quickly from one to the other. If you don't DPS them fast enough, the person inside will suffocate and die right after Sindragosa lands, so the blocks need to go down as she lands. There are 4 total ice bombs going down. In 10 men, where we only had 2 ice blocks, we needed to stop DPS so as not to kill the ice blocks too soon. So at around 30%, just press escape and then reselect the ice block and not attack it until the 4th bomb goes down. Damage from the frost bombs is survivable, though not advisable. Some guilds choose to have the ice blocks in the middle. This can also work. With more ice bomb awareness needed, this strategy increases overall DPS by a little bit, as raiders can start DPSing the boss as soon as it comes back down. Air phases take a long time, and the more of them you have, the closer you get to reaching the enrage timer. You need to save up as much time as you can for the 3rd phase, which starts at 35%, so use Bloodlust Heroism in phase 2 and see if you can manage to have just 2 or 3 air phases. Phase 3 is the longest and hardest part of this encounter. Sindragosa will keep placing ice blocks on random people and she will not fly. I believe here the player on the right got ice blocked because he was standing too close to the one on the left, who was marked for getting an ice block. You don't really want that to happen, you only want one block up at a time, and the ice block you are DPSing should go down as the next one spawns. What's really hard in phase 3 is being able to DPS her while managing your new debuff, Mystic Buffet. This debuff increases magical damage taken and stacks up as long as you are not behind an ice block. While behind the ice block it will fall off as it doesn't get refreshed anymore. So what you basically need to do in this phase is to DPS the boss and the ice blocks while managing your debuffs and staying alive. Ideally you would DPS the blocks every other ice block, but it's also about your stacks. If you are getting too many, run behind an ice block. And by too many I mean that you kinda have to multiply how many of phase 1 debuffs you have and how many of phase 3. Having 3-4 of each depending on your HP is somewhat the limit of manageable healing. This phase is about surviving while DPSing her slowly. Positioning is again fairly difficult and important. You need to watch out for the splash damage from the ice blocks, and players who are not actually getting ice blocked, they also need to stay clear of those who are getting ice blocked. You can have one block on the left side of the boss and then the next one on the right side, and then keep alternating sides. Players in ice blocks will still suffocate if not freed fast enough. Because of the big hitbox, you can sometimes cleave DPS the ice blocks while DPSing the boss. During the encounter, tanks will need to switch aggro to let their debuffs fall off. Same holds true for this phase, only that it is a bit more difficult with tanks sometimes getting themselves ice blocked. Switching as often as possible is recommended. This has been a guide from LearnToPlayWoW.com. Thanks for watching.